They say money reveals character. I never believed it until the day my stepdaughter won $92 million and had security escort me off the property I'd maintained for 15 years. But what she didn't know was that I held something in my hand that would change everything. If you're listening, tell me where you're from in the comments. Your voice matters on this journey. And if this story speaks to you, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button so it can reach others who need to hear it. I'm Elizabeth Thomas, 68 years old, and this is the story of how I learned that patience, documentation, and quiet dignity can be more powerful than all the money in the world. It started on a drizzly October evening in Portland, Oregon, 15 years ago. I was 53, recently widowed after losing my husband James to cancer, and still learning how to breathe in a house that felt too big and too quiet. James and I never had children of our own. His first marriage had ended badly, leaving him with a daughter, Nicole, who was 28 at the time and wanted nothing to do with either of us. I remember the night everything changed. I was sitting in the sunroom James had built for me, the one with windows facing the Japanese maple he'd planted on our 5th anniversary. Rain tapped against the glass when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a young woman, drenched to the bone, holding a sleeping toddler wrapped in a thin blanket. Behind her stood a man, equally soaked, carrying 2 garbage bags that I assumed held their belongings. "Can I help you?" I asked through the door. Is this James Hayes's house?" The woman's voice cracked. "I'm Nicole, his daughter." My heart seized. James had been gone for 8 months. Whatever brought her here had to be desperate. I opened the door immediately. Come in out of the rain." Nicole stepped into the foyer, water pooling around her worn sneakers. The man with her, introduced as Derek, her boyfriend, nodded at me but said nothing. The little girl in Nicole's arms stirred and I caught a glimpse of her face. She couldn't have been more than 2 years old. "This is Emma," Nicole said, her voice hollow. "And we don't have anywhere else to go." I didn't ask questions that night. I just showed them to the guest room, gave them towels and dry clothes, and made hot soup. Derek ate in silence, his eyes never meeting mine. Nicole fed Emma with trembling hands, and I noticed the bruises on her wrists, faded yellow and green, but unmistakable. After they were settled, Nicole found me in the kitchen. "I know Dad's gone," she said quietly. "I didn't come to the funeral. I couldn't face it, but I heard he left the house to you, and I thought maybe. You thought maybe I'd help," I finished for her. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Derek lost his job 6 months ago. We got evicted. I have nothing, Elizabeth. I have a baby and nothing." I looked at this young woman, James's daughter, whom he'd loved despite their estrangement, and made a choice that would define the next 15 years of my life. "You can stay," I said, "as long as you need." What I didn't know then was that "as long as you need" would become a cage of my own making, and that kindness without boundaries would nearly destroy me. The first year was manageable. Nicole got a part-time job at a local pharmacy. Derek claimed to be looking for work but spent most days on the couch, scrolling through his phone. I took care of Emma during the day, feeding her, playing with her, teaching her colors and numbers. I covered the utilities, which had doubled with 3 extra people in the house. I paid for groceries because Derek had food allergies that required expensive organic brands. I fixed the leaky roof over their bedroom because Nicole mentioned the dripping kept Emma awake. "Just until we get on our feet," Nicole would say. "I promise Elizabeth will pay you back." I believed her. I wanted to believe her because believing meant James's daughter was worth saving, and saving her felt like honoring his memory. By the second year, small changes appeared. Nicole started leaving Emma with me more often, sometimes for entire weekends. "Derek and I need couple time," she'd explain. I didn't mind at first. Emma was a bright, sweet child who filled the empty spaces in my heart. But then Nicole redecorated the guest room without asking. She painted the walls sage green and replaced my mother's antique dresser with a modern IKEA unit. When I mentioned it, she frowned. "This is our home too, Elizabeth. We should be comfortable." I bit my tongue. Pick your battles, I told myself. By the third year, Derek still hadn't found work. He'd gained weight and developed a routine. Wake at noon, eat the breakfast I'd made, play video games until dinner, then complain about the food. When I suggested he help with yard work or household repairs, he'd shrug. Not really my skill set. Nicole defended him constantly. He's depressed, Elizabeth. The job market is brutal. You don't understand the pressure he's under. I did understand pressure. I understood it when I paid for Emma's preschool tuition. I understood it when I covered Derek's urgent care visit after he tweaked his back playing basketball. I understood it when my savings account, once comfortably cushioned, began to look disturbingly thin. But I kept quiet, because Emma called me Grandma Eliza and hugged me every morning. Because Nicole occasionally thanked me, even if it was just a quick, "You're the best," tossed over her shoulder. Because I'd promised James, somewhere in the quiet of my grief, that I'd look after his daughter. The fourth year brought a new baby, a boy Nicole named Tyler. She'd gotten pregnant accidentally, she said, and Derek was really stepping up this time. But Derek stepping up looked a lot like before, sleeping late, eating my food, contributing nothing. Now I had two children to care for. Nicole returned to work after 6 weeks, leaving me with an infant and a preschooler. I changed diapers, warmed bottles, read bedtime stories, and soothed nightmares. I loved those children fiercely, even as I felt my identity slipping away. I was no longer Elizabeth Thomas, retired librarian and widow. I was the Live and Help, the free childcare, the ATM machine that never ran out of funds, except it was running out faster than anyone realized. By the fifth year, Nicole started making rules. "Eliza, please don't give Emma juice before bed. It makes her hyper." "Eliza, Tyler needs organic formula only. The regular stuff upsets his stomach." "Eliza, we're having friends over Saturday. Could you maybe stay upstairs? It's just easier." Each request was small, reasonable even. But together they built a wall between me and the life I'd once had. I was being erased in my own home, one polite demand at a time. The sixth year was when I started keeping a journal, not out of anger, but out of necessity. I needed to remember who I was, what I'd given, what I'd lost. I wrote entries late at night after everyone was asleep, recording the small indignities that added up to something unbearable. March 12 paid $340 for Emma's dental work. Nicole said she'd reimburse me, still waiting. June 8, Derek ate the birthday cake I made for my friend Susan's visit, didn't apologize, said he thought it was for everyone. September 22, Nicole told her friends I help out around the house. Help out, as if this isn't my house. As if I'm staff. By the seventh year, I'd become invisible. Nicole hosted dinner parties where I cooked but wasn't invited to eat at the table. Derek asked me to do his laundry, since I was doing a load anyway. Emma and Tyler, now in school, called me Eliza instead of Grandma because Nicole said it sounded younger. I was 60 years old and I felt ancient. One evening, I was cleaning up after dinner when I overheard Nicole on the phone in the living room. "Yeah, she pays for everything. The house is in her name, but honestly, she's getting older. We're probably going to have to help her manage things soon. Make sure she doesn't make any bad decisions." My hands froze over the sink. The plate I was holding slipped, shattering against the stainless steel. Nicole poked her head into the kitchen. "You okay?" "Fine," I lied, sweeping up the pieces. "Just clumsy." But I wasn't fine. For the first time, I understood that Nicole and Derek weren't waiting for me to help them get on their feet. They were waiting for me to become too weak to stop them from taking everything. That night, I made a decision. I would start protecting myself, quietly, carefully. I would document every dollar spent, every promise broken, every boundary crossed, because I'd learned something important. Patience isn't passive. Patience is preparation. And I was preparing for something I couldn't yet name, but I knew it was coming. It happened on a bitter February morning, 3 weeks before everything exploded. I was at the corner grocery, picking up milk and bread, when I saw the Powerball sign at the checkout. jackpot $92 million. I'd bought lottery tickets before a small ritual James and I shared. Every week, we'd pick numbers based on meaningful dates: our wedding anniversary, his mother's birthday, the day we bought the house. After he died, I kept the tradition alive, a small way of keeping him close. The clerk, a young man named Omar who always remembered my name, smiled. "Feeling lucky today, Mrs. Thomas?" "Always," I said and meant it. Not because I believed I'd win, but because I'd survived 15 years in a home where I'd become a ghost. That took a particular kind of luck. I filled out the ticket with our numbers: 7, 14, 23, 31, 45, 52, 68. Then I did something James had taught me years ago. I signed the back. Elizabeth Marie Thomas, neat, clear, unmistakable. "Why do you do that?" Omar asked. "Sign the back, I mean." "My husband always said people can dispute anything, but they can't fake your signature," I explained, slipping the ticket into my wallet. "It's just habit now." "Smart man." "He was," I said softly. I kept the receipt, folded it carefully, and tucked it behind my driver's license. Then I went home, where Nicole and Derek were arguing in the kitchen about whose turn it was to pick up Tyler from karate. "Eliza can do it," Derek said when he saw me. "She's free." I wasn't free. I'd planned to visit my friend Cindy at the senior center, but I swallowed the objection and grabbed my keys. "What time?" "4:30, Nicole said without looking up from her phone. "Thanks, Eliza." That evening, after the kids were in bed, I sat in the sunroom with a cup of tea and the lottery ticket in my hand. Moonlight filtered through the Japanese maple, casting shadows that danced like memories. I held the ticket up to the light, studying the numbers. "If we win," I whispered to James's memory, "I'll know it's you telling me it's time to stop waiting and start living." I didn't expect an answer, but somewhere deep in the house, a floorboard creaked. A sound I'd learned over the years meant the old bones of this place were settling. It felt like agreement. 3 days later, the drawing happened. I was making breakfast when Nicole came thundering down the stairs, phone clutched in her hand, eyes wild. "Derek, wake you P?" He stumbled into the kitchen, hair sticking up, squinting. What's wrong?" We won the lottery. Oh my God, we won." I turned from the stove, spatula in hand. "What are you talking about?" Nicole was jumping, literally jumping, like a child on Christmas morning. "The Powerball, the ticket, I found it on the counter this morning. I checked the numbers online. We matched all of them. $92 million, Derek, $92 million. My stomach dropped. "What ticket?" "This one." She waved it in the air. It was just sitting by the fruit bowl. Someone must have bought it and forgotten about it. "Finders keepers, right?" "Nicole," I said carefully, "that's my ticket." She froze. Derek, now fully awake, stepped closer. "Your ticket?" "Yes, I bought it 3 days ago at Omar's market. I always buy tickets. Those are mine and James's numbers." Nicole's expression shifted: confusion, then defensiveness, then something harder. "Eliza, come on, you probably just forgot. You're always forgetting things these days." "I don't forget this," I said firmly. And I signed the back, checked the signature. For a split second, panic flashed across Nicole's face. Then she laughed, a bright, brittle sound. "Signed it? Why would you sign a lottery ticket?" "Because James taught me to. Check the back, Nicole, you'll see my name." Derek snatched the ticket from Nicole's hand and flipped it over, his jaw tightened. "It says Elizabeth Thomas." "So?" Nicole grabbed it back. "That doesn't mean anything. Anyone could have signed it. Maybe Eliza signed it for us, right, Eliza? You're always doing nice things for us." I stared at her. At this woman I'd sheltered, fed, supported for 15 years. At this woman who was now blatantly lying to my face. "I didn't sign it for you," I said quietly. "I signed it for myself because I bought it with my money." Nicole's face flushed red. "Your money? Eliza, you've been living off Dad's estate this whole time. That money was supposed to be mine anyway. Your father left this house to me, Nicole, legally. Everything else, the utilities, the groceries, the kids' expenses, I've paid out of my pension and savings. You haven't contributed a dime in 15 years. That's not fair. Nicole's voice rose to a shriek. We've been helping you, keeping you company, taking care of you. I almost laughed, almost. Taking care of me? Yes, you're getting older, Eliza. You need us, and now you're trying to steal from us. I'm not stealing anything, I said, my voice like steel. That ticket is mine. If you don't believe me, check the store receipt. It's in my wallet. Derek moved toward the counter where my purse sat. I stepped in front of it. Don't. Or what? Derek's tone was ugly now. You'll call the cops, tell them we stole from you. Good luck with that. Who do you think they'll believe, a confused old lady or a young family? The words hit like a slap. Confused old lady. Nicole saw the pain in my eyes and doubled down. Look, Eliza, we love you. But maybe it's time we talked about your memory issues. You've been getting forgetful. Last week you couldn't remember where you put the car keys. Because you moved them, I snapped. And you've been repeating yourself a lot. I think the stress of maintaining this big house is too much. Maybe we should look into care options for you, somewhere safe. I understood then. This was the plan. Declare me incompetent, take control of the house, cash the ticket, and ship me off to a facility. I'd become a problem to be managed, a loose end to be tied up. Get out, I said. Nicole blinked. What? Get out of my house. Eliza, don't be ridiculous. This is MY house, MY name on the deed, my ticket, and you have until noon today to pack your things and leave. Derek laughed, a mean, sharp sound. You're bluffing. You wouldn't kick out your own grandkids. He was right. I loved Emma and Tyler with every fiber of my being. But I loved myself more, and I'd learned the hard way that you can't save people who are determined to drown. I'm not bluffing, I said. Noon, or I call the police and report theft. Nicole's face twisted with rage. Fine, fine, but you'll regret this, Eliza. We'll fight you. We'll get lawyers. We'll prove you're not competent. Try it, I said. But remember, I have the receipt, the signature, and 15 years of bank statements showing exactly who's been supporting whom. I walked upstairs to my bedroom, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the bed, shaking. Through the floor, I heard shouting, slamming, the chaos of rage unleashed. But I didn't go back down. Instead, I called my friend Cindy, who'd been a family law attorney before she retired. Cindy, I need help, and I need it now. By noon, Nicole, Derek, Emma, and Tyler were gone. They left the house a mess, drawers emptied, closets ransacked, the kitchen counter covered in dirty dishes. But they left. And I stood in the sudden, echoing silence of my home, holding the lottery ticket in one hand and my phone in the other, ready to call the authorities if necessary. I'd drawn a line, and for the first time in 15 years, I felt like Elizabeth Thomas again, not a ghost, not a servant, but a woman who knew her worth. The next 72 hours were a blur of phone calls, paperwork, and grim determination. Cindy came over immediately, bringing a colleague who specialized in elder financial abuse. Together, we built a case so airtight that even Nicole's best attempts couldn't pry it open. First, we went to Omar's market. The owner, Mr. Patel, pulled up the security footage from the day I bought the ticket. There I was, clear as day, filling out the numbers, signing the back, and paying with my debit card. Omar confirmed my routine, testifying that I bought tickets every week with the same numbers. Mrs. Thomas is sharp as a tack, Omar told Cindy. She remembers everyone's name, asks about my kids, never forgets a conversation. Nothing confused about that lady. Next, Cindy subpoenaed my bank records for the past 15 years. The evidence was damning. Mortgage payments, utility bills, grocery store charges, medical expenses for Emma and Tyler, tuition payments, all from my accounts. Not once had Nicole or Derek contributed. This is textbook financial exploitation, Cindy's colleague, Michael Foster, explained. You've been systematically drained while they built nothing of their own. Any judge will see this clearly. But Nicole didn't go quietly. 3 days after I kicked them out, I received a certified letter from a law firm called Donovan and Associates. Nicole and Derek were suing for ownership of the lottery ticket, claiming I de-gifted it to them verbally and that I lacked the mental capacity to manage my own finances. Attached was a sworn statement from a Dr. Sandra Klein, a psychologist I'd never met, claiming I'd been evaluated and showed signs of early stage dementia. "This is fraud," Cindy said flatly, reading the document. "They forged this. We'll destroy them." She filed an emergency motion, and a hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. In the meantime, I visited the Oregon Lottery headquarters with Cindy and Michael. We brought the ticket, the receipt, my ID, and a notarized affidavit detailing the timeline. The lottery official, a stern woman named Jennifer Sullivan, examined everything under UV light, checking serial numbers and signatures. "Mrs. Thomas, I need to ask you directly. Did you purchase this ticket with your own funds?" "Yes." "Did you sign it yourself?" "Yes." "Did you authorize anyone else to claim it on your behalf?" "Absolutely not." Jennifer nodded. "Then the ticket belongs to you. However, due to the pending lawsuit, we can't process the claim until the court resolves the dispute. It's standard procedure." "How long will that take?" I asked. "Depends on the judge. Could be weeks, could be months," I sighed. "Then we wait." During those 2 weeks, Nicole launched a public campaign. She created a social media account called Justice for Nicole and posted tearful videos claiming I was a vindictive, mentally unstable woman who'd stolen her family's life-changing prize. "She manipulated us," Nicole sobbed into the camera. "She kicked out my babies, my innocent children, because she's greedy and confused. We took care of her for years, and this is how she repays us." The comment section filled with outrage. "This is elder abuse in reverse. She's the abuser. Someone call Adult Protective Services. That old lady should be ashamed." But Cindy's team was ready. We launched a counteroffensive, not on social media, but in court. We filed defamation suits, submitted the security footage, and released carefully redacted bank statements showing the financial reality. Local reporters picked up the story. The narrative shifted. Headlines changed from "Greedy Grandmother Steals Prize" to "Widow Fights Exploitation After Years of Financial Abuse." One journalist, a woman named Bethany Marks, called me for an interview. I almost declined, but Cindy encouraged me. "Tell your story, Elizabeth. The truth is your best weapon." So I sat down with Bethany in my sunroom, the Japanese maple casting dappled shadows, and told her everything. The 15 years of silence, the mounting debt, the slow erosion of my identity. I showed her my journals, the receipts, the documentation. "Why didn't you stop it sooner?" Bethany asked gently. "Because I loved them," I said simply. "And I thought love meant enduring. It took me too long to learn that love without boundaries isn't love, it's self-destruction." The article published 3 days before the hearing. It was titled "The Hidden Cost of Kindness: One Woman's Fight to Reclaim Her Life." The day of the hearing arrived cold and gray, rain drumming against the courthouse windows. I wore my best navy suit, James's pearl earrings, and carried a leather folder containing every piece of evidence we'd assembled. Nicole and Derek sat across the aisle with their attorney, a slick-haired man in an expensive suit. Nicole looked fragile, hair in a soft bun, minimal makeup, a pale pink dress that screamed victim. Derek wore a tie for perhaps the first time in 15 years. The judge, Honorable Margaret Caldwell, was a woman in her early 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She reviewed the submitted documents in silence, occasionally making notes. Finally, she looked up. "Let's begin. Ms. Hayes, your claim is that Mrs. Thomas gifted you this ticket and subsequently experienced mental confusion leading her to falsely claim ownership. Is that accurate?" Nicole's attorney stood. "Yes, Your Honor. We have testimony from Dr. Sandra Klein regarding Mrs. Thomas's cognitive decline." "Dr. Klein," Judge Caldwell interrupted, "who apparently conducted an evaluation of Mrs. Thomas without Mrs. Thomas's knowledge or presence. Is that correct?" The attorney faltered. Dr. Klein's assessment was based on observed behaviors reported by my clients, so she never actually examined Mrs. Thomas. Not formally, but then her statement is hearsay at best, fraud at worst. Motion to strike Dr. Klein's testimony. Granted. Judge Caldwell made a notation. Continue. Nicole took the stand, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. She recounted a version of events where I was a confused, lonely widow who'd become increasingly irrational. She needed us, Nicole said. We stayed out of love, and when she bought that ticket, she said, "This is for all of us, for my family." I swear she said that. Do you have any witnesses to this alleged statement? Judge Caldwell asked. Derek was there. Anyone else? Anyone not financially interested in the outcome? Nicole hesitated. No, but Mrs. Thomas, please take the stand. I stood, walked to the witness box, and placed my hand on the Bible. Cindy had prepped me thoroughly. Speak clearly, stick to facts, don't let emotion override truth. Judge Caldwell asked me to recount the day I bought the ticket. I did methodically, referencing the store footage, Omar's testimony, the receipt. Mrs. Thomas, she said, did you at any point tell Ms. Hayes or Mr. Carlson that this ticket was for them? No, Your Honor. Why do you sign your tickets? My late husband taught me to. He believed in protecting yourself with documentation. I've done it for 30 years. And your bank records show you've been the sole financial provider for Ms. Hayes's household for 15 years. Is that accurate? Yes, Your Honor. Judge Caldwell leaned back. Ms. Hayes, your attorney, claimed Mrs. Thomas has memory issues, yet the evidence shows she maintained meticulous financial records, consistently followed routines, and clearly remembered to sign and safeguard this ticket. Can you explain this discrepancy? Nicole's mouth opened and closed. I just meant she's forgetful sometimes. Little things. Little things like where she put her keys? Yes. Do you know who actually moved those keys? Silence. Mrs. Thomas's journal indicates you moved them. Is that true? Nicole's face flushed. I don't remember. Judge Caldwell glanced at the documents. I've reviewed 15 years of financial statements, security footage, witness testimony, and Dr. Klein's fraudulent evaluation. Here's what I see. A widow who opened her home to her stepdaughter's family, supported them entirely, and was systematically exploited. When she finally asserted her rights, you attempted to portray her as incompetent to justify theft. She removed her glasses. This is one of the clearest cases of elder financial abuse I've seen. Ms. Hayes, your claim is denied. The lottery ticket belongs to Elizabeth Thomas. Additionally, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for investigation into fraud and elder exploitation. Nicole burst into tears. Derek slumped in his seat. Their attorney gathered his papers, face grim. Judge Caldwell looked at me. Mrs. Thomas, you have full rights to claim your prize. I'm also granting a restraining order prohibiting Ms. Hayes and Mr. Carlson from contacting you or entering your property for a period of 3 years. If you wish to pursue criminal charges, the DA will be in touch. Thank you, Your Honor, I said, my voice steady despite the tears threatening to spill. As I left the courtroom, Nicole called out, Eliza, please, think of Emma and Tyler. I stopped, turned. I am thinking of them. I'm thinking they deserve better than parents who lie, steal, and exploit. Maybe losing this will teach you to be better. Then I walked out into the rain, Cindy at my side. The lottery commission processed my claim within a week. After taxes, I received $58 million, an incomprehensible sum for a woman who'd been watching her savings dwindle for 15 years. I didn't buy a mansion or a yacht. I didn't go on a world cruise. Instead, I did something quieter and infinitely more meaningful. I rebuilt my life. First, I renovated the house, not to erase the memories, but to reclaim the space. I restored the sunroom to its original purpose, my sanctuary. I replanted the garden James and I had designed together. I hung photos of us on every wall, refusing to hide our happiness anymore. Next, I set up education trusts for Emma and Tyler, $500,000 each, inaccessible until they turned 18 and only with proof of high school graduation. The terms were ironclad. Nicole and Derek couldn't touch a penny. Why? Cindy asked when I told her. After what they did? Because those kids are innocent, I said. They didn't choose their parents. And maybe, one day, they'll understand that real love doesn't come with conditions, it comes with boundaries. I donated $5 million to establish the James and Elizabeth Thomas Foundation, providing financial literacy education and legal support for elders experiencing family exploitation. We partnered with senior centers, community colleges, and legal aid organizations. The first person I hired was Cindy. The second was Bethany Marks, the journalist who told my story. Together, we built a network that helped hundreds of people escape situations like mine. One afternoon, about 6 months after the court case, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Emma, now 13, standing on the porch with a worn backpack and tear-streaked face. "Grandma Eliza," she whispered. "Can I come in?" My heart clenched. "Of course, sweetheart, always." She came inside and the story spilled out. Nicole and Derek had divorced. Nicole was working 2 jobs, struggling. Derek had disappeared. Emma felt lost, angry, confused. "Mom said you hate us now," Emma said, curled on the couch with hot chocolate. "I don't hate you," I said firmly. "I never could. I hate what your parents did, but you? Never." "Then why did you leave?" "I didn't leave, honey. I set boundaries. There's a difference." I took her hand. Love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. Love means caring enough about yourself to say, "I deserve better." Over the next few months, Emma visited regularly. I helped her with homework, taught her to cook James's famous chowder, listened when she needed to vent. I never spoke badly about Nicole. That was Emma's mother, and she needed to form her own opinions. But I also never lied. When Emma asked why I'd signed the ticket, I explained James's lesson about protecting yourself. When she asked why I documented everything, I told her, because truth needs evidence, and sometimes the people who love you most can hurt you deepest. One Saturday morning, Emma and I were baking cookies when she said, "Grandma, I want to be like you when I grow up." I looked at her, flour dusting her nose. "Like me, how?" "Strong, you didn't let them break you." I set down the mixing spoon and hugged her. "Sweetheart, they did break me, many times. But I kept putting myself back together. That's not strength, that's survival. And you're already strong, you just don't know it yet." Tyler started visiting too, though less frequently. He was younger, more confused about why everything had changed. I was patient with him, never pushing, just letting him know my door was always open. Nicole sent me a letter 6 months after the court case. It arrived in a plain envelope, handwritten address slightly smudged. "Elizabeth, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. The therapist I'm seeing says I need to take accountability, so here it is. I used you. I justified it by telling myself you had so much and we had nothing, but that was a lie. You gave us everything and I repaid you with cruelty. Derek is gone. The marriage counselor said we were toxic together and she was right. I'm working 2 jobs, living in a small apartment, trying to be better for Emma and Tyler. It's hard, harder than I thought anything could be. I know the restraining order means I can't contact you, but I needed you to know you were right about everything, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Nicole, I read the letter 3 times, then folded it carefully and placed it in my journal. I didn't respond. The restraining order was still in effect, and I needed to honor the boundary I'd set. But I kept the letter because it represented something important: acknowledgement. Whether Nicole truly changed, I didn't know. That wasn't my burden to carry anymore. My job was to heal, to rebuild, and to help others do the same. 2 years after the court case, the James and Elizabeth Thomas Foundation held its first annual gala. We helped over 300 families navigate elder exploitation, provided free legal services, and established support groups in 12 cities. I stood at the podium in a simple black dress, looking out at a room full of people who'd survived what I'd survived. People who'd been used, discarded, and told they were too old, too confused, too insignificant to matter. My name is Elizabeth Thomas, I began, and for 15 years I believed that love meant sacrifice. I sacrificed my savings, my dignity, my sense of self, all for people who saw me as a resource, not a person. The room was silent, every eye on me. But here's what I learned: love without boundaries isn't love, it's enablement, it's self destruction. And the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others is to say, no more. Applause erupted, but I wasn't finished. If you're in a situation like I was, document everything. Sign your name, keep receipts, because truth needs evidence, and evidence needs you to be brave enough to gather it. You are not too old to matter. You are not too confused to deserve respect. You are worthy exactly as you are. After the gala, Emma found me in the hallway. She'd grown taller, more confident. She was 15 now, applying to high schools, dreaming of college. "That was amazing, Grandma," she said, hugging me tight. "You think so? I know so." She pulled back, eyes shining. "I want to do what you do, help people, make a difference." I cupped her face. "Then you will, sweetheart, you will?" Tyler, now 12, lingered nearby. He was quieter than Emma, still processing everything that had happened. I held out my hand and he took it. "You okay, buddy?" He nodded. "Mom's been different, better. She actually listens now." "That's good," I said. "People can change, Tyler. It's hard and it takes time, but they can." "Do you think you'll ever talk to her again?" he asked. I considered the question carefully. "Maybe one day when enough healing has happened on both sides. But not yet? Not yet." He squeezed my hand. "I'm glad you didn't give up, Grandma. On yourself, I mean." Those words stayed with me long after the gala ended, long after Emma and Tyler went home, long after the last guest left and I stood alone in the empty ballroom. I'd spent so many years thinking that giving up on Nicole meant failing James. But I'd learned the truth. Holding on when someone is drowning you isn't loyalty. It's martyrdom. And James never would have wanted that for me. 3 years after the court case, on a crisp October morning, I sat in the sunroom with a cup of tea and watched the Japanese maple shed its leaves. The tree was older now, its trunk thicker, its branches reaching higher. It had weathered storms and seasons just like me. My phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, but something told me to answer. "Hello? Elizabeth, it's Nicole." My breath caught. The restraining order had expired 6 months ago, but she'd never called. I'd assumed she never would. "Hello, Nicole. I wasn't sure if you'd answer." Her voice was different, softer, less defensive. I almost didn't. Silence stretched between us, heavy with 3 years of unspoken words. "I'm calling because Emma's applying to colleges," Nicole finally said. "She wants to study social work. Because of you?" "She told me," I said carefully. "I wanted to thank you for the trust, for not cutting her out even after what I did. Emma is innocent. She always was." "I know." Nicole's voice broke. "Elizabeth, I'm not calling to ask for anything. I wanted you to know I'm different now. Therapy, accountability groups, actually taking care of my kids, I'm doing the work, and I finally understand what you tried to teach me." "What's that?" "That love isn't taking, it's giving, and sometimes the most loving thing you can give is space." I closed my eyes, feeling something loosen in my chest. "That's wise, Nicole. I learned it from you. Even when I wasn't listening, you were teaching." We talked for 20 minutes. She told me about her job as a pharmacy technician, the small apartment she was proud to afford on her own, the parenting classes she'd completed. I listened, offering no advice, no judgment, just presence. "Would you?" Nicole hesitated. "Would you ever want to meet for coffee? Not soon, maybe not for a long time, but someday?" I looked at the maple tree, its bare branches stark against the autumn sky. It would bloom again in spring, as it always did. Some things were cyclical: seasons, growth, forgiveness. "Maybe someday," I said, "when we're both ready." "That's more than I deserve." "Maybe, but grace isn't about deserving, it's about choosing." After we hung up, I sat in the quiet sunroom and let the tears come. Not tears of sadness, but of release. I'd carried so much for so long: anger, hurt, betrayal. And while I wasn't ready to fully forgive, I was ready to let go. That evening, Emma came over for dinner. She'd gotten early acceptance to 3 universities, all with strong social work programs. "I want to work with families," she explained, eyes bright. "Help people communicate better, set boundaries, all the stuff you taught me." "I'm so proud of you," I said, and meant it with every fiber of my being. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Anything. Do you think Mom can really change?" I thought about the phone call, Nicole's voice, the years of work she'd described. "I think people can change if they're willing to do the hard work. Your mom is trying. That doesn't erase the past, but it means something. Would you ever let her back into your life?" "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I'm open to the possibility, and that's a start." Emma smiled. "That's all anyone can ask for." 5 years after the court case, I celebrated my 73rd birthday surrounded by people I loved. Cindy and her husband Tom, Bethany and her kids, Emma and Tyler, friends from the foundation, and neighbors who'd become family. We gathered in the backyard under the Japanese maple that now provided deep shade. I'd hung string lights and set out a simple buffet: James's chowder, fresh bread, salad from my garden. Emma, now a sophomore in college, gave a toast. "To Grandma Eliza, the strongest woman I know. Thank you for showing me that kindness and boundaries can coexist, and that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's survival." Everyone raised their glasses. I looked around at these faces, people who'd chosen to be here, not out of obligation, but out of genuine love, and felt overwhelming gratitude. Later, as the sun set and guests began to leave, Tyler pulled me aside. He was 15 now, tall and serious, so much like James it made my heart ache. "Grandma, I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "When I turn 18 and get access to the trust, I want to donate half of it to your foundation." I stared at him. "Tyler, that money is for your education." "I know, but I'll still have plenty, and I want to help people like you helped us, like you help everyone." I hugged him, tears streaming. "You don't have to decide now, honey." "I know. But I wanted you to know I'm thinking about it, because of you." That night, alone in the sunroom, I opened my journal, the same one I'd started 15 years ago when I first began documenting my life with Nicole and Derek. I flipped through the pages: receipts, notes, moments of pain, and small joys. Then I turned to a fresh page and wrote, October 15. I am 73 years old. I have survived betrayal, exploitation, and the slow erosion of my identity. But I have also experienced grace, healing, and the profound gift of reclaiming my life. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe Nicole and I will rebuild some form of relationship. Maybe we won't, but I know this: I am no longer defined by what was taken from me. I am defined by what I chose to keep: my dignity, my truth, and my capacity to love with boundaries. James, if you can hear me, I hope you're proud. I finally learned the lesson you tried to teach me all those years ago: sign your name. Stand in your truth, protect yourself, because no one else will do it for you. I am Elizabeth Thomas, and I am enough. I closed the journal, set it on the table beside the photo of James, and looked out at the darkened garden. The maple tree was silhouetted against the moonlit sky, its branches reaching upward like arms in prayer. For the first time in 15 years, maybe for the first time in my entire life, I felt completely at peace. I'm 78 now. The house is quieter these days, but it's a good quiet, the kind that comes from contentment, not loneliness. Emma graduated with her Master.S in social work and now runs a program for at-risk youth. She visits every Sunday, bringing her partner and their new puppy. Tyler is in medical school, planning to specialize in geriatrics. "Someone has to look out for people like you, Grandma," he jokes, but I know he means it. Nicole and I meet for coffee once a month. It's cordial, sometimes warm, never quite what it was, but that's okay. We're building something new, something based on honesty rather than obligation. The foundation continues to grow. Last year, we helped 1,200 families. We've expanded to 20 states. Cindy still serves as legal director. though she jokes about retiring every year. Bethany wrote a book about my story, donating all proceeds to the foundation. Sometimes, late at night, I sit in the sunroom and imagine what my life might have looked like if I'd never drawn that line, never demanded respect, never signed my name on that lottery ticket. I would have faded into nothing, a ghost in my own home, forgotten and erased. But I didn't fade, I fought. Quietly, patiently, with documentation and dignity. And in the end, I won, not just the money, but something far more valuable, myself. The Japanese maple outside has grown massive now, its roots deep, its branches sprawling. In spring, it blooms brilliant red. In fall, it sheds its leaves without fear, knowing they'll return. I am like that tree, weathered but still growing, scarred but still blooming. And every morning, when I pour my coffee and watch the sun rise through the window James built, I whisper the same thing. Thank you for teaching me to sign my name. Because in the end, that's what saved me. The simple act of claiming what was mine, of refusing to disappear, of insisting that I mattered. And I do matter, we all do. If you've made it this far in the story, thank you for walking this journey with Elizabeth. Her experience reminds us of a truth that many people learn too late. Kindness without boundaries is not a virtue. It's a vulnerability that others can exploit. Elizabeth's story teaches us several vital lessons. First, documentation matters. In a world where people can dispute your memory, your intentions, and even your sanity, evidence is your shield. Elizabeth's habit of signing her lottery tickets, a simple act her husband taught her, became the cornerstone of her defense. But it went deeper than that. Her journals, her receipts, her bank statements, these were not acts of paranoia, but of self-preservation. Second, love and boundaries are not opposites. Elizabeth loved Nicole and those children deeply. But love that demands you erase yourself is not healthy love. True love, the kind that heals and sustains, requires mutual respect. When that respect is absent, boundaries aren't cruel, they're necessary for survival. Third, it's never too late to reclaim your dignity. Elizabeth was 68 when she finally said, "Enough." 68 years old after 15 years of exploitation, after watching her savings drain and her identity fade. But she still found the strength to stand up. Age doesn't diminish your worth, and time doesn't erase your right to be treated with respect. Finally, forgiveness is complex. Elizabeth didn't immediately reconcile with Nicole, and that's okay. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't require restoring a relationship to what it once was. Sometimes, forgiveness looks like releasing your anger without letting the person back into your inner circle. Sometimes, it looks like carefully rebuilding with clear boundaries. And sometimes, it looks like walking away and never looking back. All of these are valid. If you're in a situation like Elizabeth's, if someone is slowly taking pieces of you, disguising exploitation as need, labeling your boundaries as selfishness, hear this: you matter. Your resources matter, your time matters, your peace matters, and you have every right to protect those things. Document everything. Sign your name, keep receipts. Build your case quietly if you must, but build it. Because when the moment comes to stand up for yourself, you'll need evidence that your truth is real. And to those who are on the other side, who might see themselves in Nicole, it's never too late to change. Accountability is painful, but it's also the only path to genuine healing. If you've exploited someone's kindness, the first step is admitting it. The second is making amends, not through words, but through sustained, changed behavior. And the third is accepting that the person you hurt may never fully trust you again, and that's their right. Elizabeth's story isn't just about a lottery ticket. It's about the lottery of life, the luck of finding your strength when you thought it was gone, the fortune of realizing your worth before it's too late, the jackpot of reclaiming your own narrative. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe to Auntie Rose Stories. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your voice adds to this community of people learning to set boundaries, reclaim dignity, and choose themselves. Like Elizabeth's Japanese maple, we all go through seasons. Some strip us bare. But with strong roots and time, we bloom again. Until next time, remember, your signature matters. Your story matters. You matter. Thank you for listening.